Welcome. Well, I am going to briefly introduce our author tonight, and then I will turn it over to her and her husband for a little talk and some questions.
Okay.
All right, so first of all, thank you all for being here tonight. On behalf of RJ Julia, I would like to introduce Julia Dzafic. Julia began her blog Lemon Stripes in 2010 while working full-time in the wellness industry. Today, that blog has grown to become a space where she covers a wide array of topics, including motherhood, home decor, wellness, and more. She was named by Town and Country as one of 8 women under 30 to follow on Instagram. She's been featured by the Tory Burch Foundation, The Today Show, People Style Watch, Martha Stewart, and Serendipity Magazine. Julia's new book, Garden Grown, is an aesthetically pleasing garden-to-table cookbook full of family-friendly and veggie-forward recipes, along with gardening tips. She is joined tonight by her husband, Anel. Anel Dzafic is an entrepreneur and fitness trainer by day, but moonlights as a gardener and chicken farmer on his off hours.
Nice.
Anel grew up in Bosnia during the war, where his family lived off the land to survive, so gardening has always been an integral part of his life. He teaches gardeners his tricks and tips on Instagram at the Botanical Box. So without further ado, welcome Julia and Anel.
Thank you guys for coming. This is our first stop on the book tour, so we're a little nervous. But we appreciate you being here. Just get the intro, so I guess we don't have to do that. But, so basically, if you've looked at the book so far, you've seen how it's laid out. And the reason it came to be is that during the pandemic, my husband decided to build a garden, and he said, one day he came home and he was like, we're gonna build a garden. All right, you okay with that? I was like, yeah, great, no problem. Come out a few days later, it is half the size of this room. I mean, it's huge, 20 feet. It's a gigantic garden, okay? So I'm like, what are we gonna do with all this? I don't know, whatever. So he does his garden. It comes out amazing. I didn't know he had this skill in him. It was like,
What are you doing after the book tour?
he does do gardening lessons.
Exactly.
We just started.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
just started.
Well, ask him all your
Exciting.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I came out, it was amazing. And then he added a berry patch, then he added chickens, and we've just like kept growing and growing in our backyard. Now looks like a farm, which has been incredible. And during the pandemic, I was just like cooking things with it, and people would always say, what do you make with all those tomatoes? You bring in harvests like this. What do you make with all that lettuce? And I'm like, oh, great, there's a hole in this market. Let's fill it. So that's how the book is laid out. What to do with all your tomatoes, what to do with all your carrots, berries, etc., etc. So when you harvest a bunch of stuff, you can go to that section. But my favorite part, if I can find it, is in the book. This might be the most genius thing I've actually ever come up with in my life, is that if you're, okay, so how to use this book. If you're in the tomato section, for example, and you're looking at a recipe and it has any of these other icons, that means, oh, if you can also go out to your garden and grab that if you grow those. So like if the tomato sauce with garlic, you can go out and find that there's garlic there. Yeah. Oh, she's a little demon, but she's cute. So that was pretty exciting for that. So yeah, then each section has Anel's gardening tips, and he does all the gardening. I have nothing to do with that. So it'll be when to plant, when to harvest, what to do about pests, when to water, compost, things like that for each and every vegetable, and then it goes into the recipes for those. Then another thing that's very important to us, especially to Anel, because he grew up in a place where food really was life. Like if you didn't have a garden, you could die easily. Food waste is a big thing for us. We have a whole section on what to do if you grow too much, which often happens to us, and I know a lot of other people. This summer, we're actually building a farm stand. Me and our daughter Amalia to give away things on our street.
We're gonna sell it, and her idea is to donate to the local dog shelter.
Oh,
I love it.
thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, the what to do, there's a section called what to do when you grow too much, and that's about that, selling, I guess, but also composting, putting it back into the earth, reusing it. If you have chickens, what you can do with that. If you live in a city, what you can do there, and things like that. So we really tried to make it like a really well-rounded book for any gardener. You want to talk a little bit about gardening?
Yeah. So for me, my start was a little bit different, starting in like a war-torn country, and we just happened to be very lucky to live on this little farm with some cows and chickens, and my grandfather, I guess he's been subconsciously teaching me how to garden since I was 3 years old. So he'll have we'll pick weeds all day and all of that stuff. But that's how we kind of survived through that whole thing, was you kind of ate what you grew. And it was mostly, things that lasted, like, party things like potatoes, onions, garlic, all the essential things that you grow in the garden. So then we kind of moved to Queens, which there was nothing, there's one tree, Queens, New York. So it's like,
Inside.
and I was like,
Bayside?
whoa, going from like a little tiny village of like 200 people in the mountains of Bosnia to like Queens, New York was like, okay, this is interesting. So, and then, we moved up to Connecticut. I started my own, private practice of personal training business, and then we got this lot, this land, and nobody really wanted to buy this house on market for a while because it was just completely overgrown. The property was just a whole mess. But I just saw this like canvas. I was like, garden, take that down, take this. So I kind of just had this vision. And 2020 happened. So I was all right, we're off from work, let's do this. So we put up this garden, and from there, like as Julia said, it's evolved. We have 15 chickens, and the whole property has become its own little ecosystem. So
Oh, I say no.
No weeds.
He wants them. I'm
We're-
afraid of these.
we're close. I know, yes, we have a lot of them already. I have this like 5,000 square foot wildflower meadow that there's just so much life in there, and the whole property itself, there's both snakes, and snakes are like I know, but they're like, I don't like snakes either, but they're like control the chipmunk population, like it's a whole thing, right? And the chickens eat 90% of our leftovers, which, their poop is gold. It turns into soil that I use every year. So it's just a whole constant cycle. So yeah, after I'm done with clients all day, I go home, I get to our house, and I have an hour or two before the kids get home, and that's my my grounding, my don't talk to me, don't look at me, I'm in there, I'm dirty, next thing you know, she's like, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm coming.
But I want to just say the coolest thing about him doing this is watching the kids learn. Like last weekend, they went to the nursery. He taught them how to plant. Which when the chickens go out to free range, they can get them back in.
Yeah.
Like I can't
So
even.
each
do
kid
that.
has a section in the garden, you can grow whatever you want. And this year they both picked just flowers. So there's a
Neat.
whole.
Where are you in Connecticut?
We're in Westport.
Oh, Westport, okay.
But now, so,
Yeah. Are you doing pumpkins, Connecticut?
We have pumpkins, and I'm actually, every year I try to do something new in the garden. Two things new this year. One is mushrooms.
Ooh.
I'm doing mushrooms, shiitakes, and like white oyster mushrooms. So I'm doing those this year, and I'm also doing some melons, which don't do well because there's not enough season for it, but they're small and they can get sweet. So I'm just trying some things.
And it's amazing, one of our kids is a very picky eater, and to see her go out, pick snap peas, pick carrots, pick tomatoes, and try them, it's a really big deal for us. She's like, eat a lot, so.
And then the other kid ate the entire berry patch last year.
Yeah.
I didn't eat a single thing. So,
Do you put everything in the ground, or do you advocate for, growing in big pots, or?
you could do whatever works for
One
you.
is not better than the other.
No, it depends. It's all about the soil,
Okay.
honestly. Like it depends of, even if you have a beautiful garden and you have these raised beds, after one season, if you don't replenish the nutrient in that soil, you're not gonna have a good season. It's gonna
So what
be
does
crap.
what do the nutrient part? What do they need? Right.
So what I do I don't disturb my soil ever.
Mhm.
I almost treat it like a lasagna,
Mhm.
right? So fall comes, I mulch all the leaves in the property, put them on top, that's very rich in nitrogen. I take from the chicken run, I take a bunch of soil, put that on top, compost. So I'm constantly layering this whole thing. The leaves decompose, get into it. So if you take your hand, and you put it in the soil, which should be not firm at all, you're getting worms, and you're getting this whole life, right? Like it's just, that's what you need about rich soil.
And how do you do that with a pot? So like I have a big hanging tomato
Yeah.
basket, and basil and some other things, and so how do you create that if you're doing it not in the ground?
Just get compost.
That's
You
it.
Keep doing, get compost, get nutrient, you just
Yeah.
make sure it's balanced, the type of balanced compost, but that's the best you can do.
Just told her that watching a program yesterday, and she was place that you want good tomatoes, crack an egg in there. You just
Yeah.
mush the egg up with the shell and everything, put the tomato plant on top of it, and you'll have the best
There's all
tomato.
these tricks and things that.
And it probably depends on where you live and what your soil is like, and
Season
right.
is, we're closer to the water, like kind of you guys are, so
Yes.
it's not, it's a completely, a little bit different zone than even 10 miles north of us or less. So it changes a bit, but.
what's the easiest to grow?
I always tell people like,
Your herbs.
you can always start with herbs
Okay.
and leafy greens, you
Okay,
can't go
nice.
wrong with that. Like there's spinach, they're all gonna do well.
Mhm.
Tomato is a marathon, right? You gotta really be invested in tomatoes. It's gonna take like a year, a whole summer at least to get really good tomatoes. Eggplant, that's two of my favorite things to do. The king and queen of the garden for me. It's, and then eggplants as well. It's a marathon, but it's really rewarding once you get that.
But herbs and lettuce. are easy.
Oh, yeah, I'll just.
There's your
I'm on
answer.
that, basil lettuce.
How did you determine the recipes? Was this, you come up with them by yourself? Is this family recipes?
And so it's a mix, so you'll see some from my grandma, some from Anel's family, so there's a few Bosnian recipes in there. Actually writing those out was hilarious because, like grandmas don't treasure anything. It's like,
It's
"Hey, what is this?
Couple of pinches.
So then that was really hard to do. So we have some family recipes, I have some of my dad's recipes, my dad's wife, whatever, and then things that I've been making for like 10 years, and then when I pitched this book, I had probably like 40 recipes ready for it.
Mhm.
And then they were like, we're gonna need over 100. I was like, oh,
Oh.
okay. So I spent about a year. You remember, I was just cooking all the time and thinking like, okay, I wanna make a really good, one of these, like salsa. So then I test around with what we had, try more of this, try more of that until it was perfect. And then we would test it, he would test it, and we'd have like friends test them, and then the publisher hired a recipe tester and they'd say, okay, why don't you try adding this or that?
Mhm.
So it was like a whole process for each one, which is like, it's a different world. Oh,
We
not
actually,
in there, but we do.
we
have
don't
one.
have
That-
in the
that would be a
book,
good idea.
but yes, I grew red lantern peppers,
Mm-hmm.
which were like way spicier than I thought they
But
would.
the hot sauce was
The
good.
hot sauce was really
If you
good.
message me on Instagram,
Yeah.
I can send you what I did.
Yeah.
It was not hard. Yeah.
And
Okay, have her do it. Have her do it. Yeah.
what I
You
do,
love hot
I
sauce?
do,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
mostly
basically
that.
vinegar and the pepper and salt and I forget what else, but
So there's a farmer's market in Coventry. And I went there and I talked to like one of the guys, piles of peppers. And I literally took all these peppers, I boiled them down
Mm,
and then put them and then mashed them and put them through like a grinder.
mhm.
And I added some pineapple,
Ooh.
but it was like so good and I'm like, I didn't write anything down.
that's right, try to keep
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
it until you get it.
But that's how, and I don't, he's like, yeah, I'll throw some hot ones in there, but it was really spicy finish, but it was like really sweet in the beginning, it
yeah.
was
Yeah.
fantastic.
I wish I could cook with pineapple, but someone's allergic.
Yeah.
But over here.
What are some of your staples?
Not a recipe, but a work of art. Yes. Yeah.
So as you're concocting recipes and doing these kinds of things, so what are some of the staples that you ought to have besides salt, pepper, garlic, oil, vinegar? Like, are there some other key components that you should be thinking about when you're adding some of these things that are kind of a staple in a lot of these?
I mean, I have my staples, which are always like crushed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, tomato paste, garlic, onion, really good olive oils. I'm
Okay.
Italian, so I always have those things in my closet. I always also have white beans. I use white beans a lot. I don't eat dairy.
Okay,
So when I make soups, I take 1 can or 2 cans sometimes of white beans, rinse them.
Yeah.
And then blend them with a little bit of like chicken or vegetable, and then make
Okay.
the soup's creamy. So I always have white beans.
I need to know.
Yeah, but it's so easy to
Yes.
just sub that, because if I put
Yes.
cream in a soup, we all feel sick, and if we do that, and then we get the kids more protein.
Right.
So beans, they always have.
So how did you do meat?
I was his boss. You were his boss? We work together we've
Nothing's
been together
changed, by
15
the
years.
way. Nothing's still
Oh,
the
Favorite
higher
joke.
piece.
Yeah. We met 15 years
Yeah.
ago in the city working
Both worked at
in
a
nutrition.
holistic wellness school. I did events and she did marketing.
Yeah.
Events and marketing overlapped at some point.
That's
To make-
wonderful.
Yeah,
So you can and freeze and all that kind of stuff too.
We do, so that's also in there. Oh, so each chapter has what we call an offshoot, which my editor came up with. I thought that was very cute.
That's clever.
And then the offshoots are all like what to do with stuff in the off season. So like we have a lot of tomatoes, like I said, so we do like a lot of tomato puree. So then I have that on hand. We do a lot of, or I do a lot of pickling.
I just grow the stuff.
Yeah.
I just bring it in and I offer it.
The thing,
So herbs.
I cut things up sometimes.
you dry them out first.
Yeah.
I
So,
cut things up
well,
sometimes.
maybe you can talk about the garlic preserving.
Oh,
For
yeah.
herbs, what we do is he'll actually help with this. He'll dry them and then mash them and we put them into like herb bottles and like use them throughout the year. Like we just
Yeah.
use parsley.
When you say you dry them, just leave
So
them
I
out
put
to
it,
dry.
no, you
Oh, no,
can
in
do
the
that.
oven.
It has to be a little humid for the, like, so even like hot peppers, I grow like Thai chili peppers and those you can just pull the whole plant and you hang it and if you don't need it, nobody's dying for Thai chili peppers. But I put them in a grinder and I grind them and you can put them on
Okay.
things, which is also like a nice spice to add to
Yeah,
it.
you like spice.
Um,
And that,
Yeah.
you do that with like with basil and
So,
those same
yeah,
kinds of things?
so those I do in the oven.
Okay,
I do
Very
about
low.
like 160 to 70 degrees for a couple hours.
oh,
And it just dries up and I just did parsley. I had so much parsley the other day.
crumbles,
Yeah, and then you.
This
crumble
much
it, like,
parsley is like half a
hands.
Ziploc bag,
Yeah.
you know?
You can go on Amazon and just buy like
The little
clear
jars,
ones,
yeah.
and you can give them people. who
Yeah,
want to
you
get it,
can,
guys,
you
like,
can
yes.
give it as a gift too, yeah.
And we use it also. we
Use
use
it.
a ton of
I
it.
do that with,
What about the tea also?
oh, I do mint, there's so much mint tea, like we do that, chamomile, I just dry. I have this thing inside of our house is this little room. And it's just like little layers, like tiers of things that I kind of dry on there. It's like this little, what would you call
and that's
that?
in here too,
Like
the
almost
drying
like a
of everything?
tobacco bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a
Yes.
huge
Thinking
thing
of
that you
something
put a
else.
zipper on it and you can
We
put
have
things in.
all of this.
5 or 6 acts, so I do like echinacea, I
Oh.
do parsley, like I said, I do put, and then once also like the onions are out and the garlic, I just put that all in there.
Once like you dry all that stuff out, like, is there a shelf life to it, or is that like
Yeah.
a myth where?
No,
oh,
there's a shelf life. It's
okay.
about a year.
Yeah,
Oh,
usually
so it's
after,
not
it's
like-
not like 20, 20
days,
days,
yeah.
it does.
It does, but it's not.
It doesn't go bad.
Well, sometimes it gets moved.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
I mean,
it
you can
depends.
probably, but what I
you
think
can
I've read is.
You can often tell.
Yeah, the longer you have it sitting out, the less flavor
Because
it's
the
gonna
spices you
have.
buy in the store, that's why you have to use like an old bottle
Right,
to get like what you want.
Yeah.
right.
Do you freeze any of it? I know
Yes.
people who do stuff like that.
You
Yeah.
can do basil, you can
Right.
freeze basil right in there and then just.
I
let
will
it
say
thaw.
with the frozen herbs, they're not the same.
It's never been
I
anything
recommend
that's
drying
fresh.
for herbs.
Okay.
For frozen, the ones that are best are like the squash or like what I do for eggplant. Often is we'll dry it out, we'll like cut it, dry it out and then freeze it, or even bread them and freeze them breaded,
Oh.
like layers of parchment. And then when I'm making eggplant parma, I make a lasagna with eggplant in it. Easy to pull that out and put it right in. So that I would definitely recommend. And then pumpkin we freeze.
Yeah.
His mom makes an amazing pumpkin dish, so we have like cubes
Pumpkin
of pumpkin.
pie, and that's like, it's a salty.
It's like a- it's like
Bosnian.
a, What's the Greek, spanakopita.
Spanakopita. She does it with spinach and pumpkin and meat and.
And spinach, obviously, freezing
Never
is
read.
very easy. He just freezes the spinach, and puts it in his smoothie. every
Smoothie in
morning.
the next, like, you have a lot of it.
I love freeze or just freeze. We just freeze, but we probably should,
Yeah.
but we're
Yeah.
pretty lazy. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
if it works.
But that's because we go through it quickly. I think
Yeah.
if it were gonna last.
Right.
How about like classes? Do you get a group of people together, bring all your vegetables and herbs and create?
On Instagram, he does.
Yeah,
Okay,
No, we
Yeah.
actually just, we've like, there's a lot of fundraisers for the schools this time of year,
Yes.
so he's been like donating that exact thing. It's like a little class, so.
yeah, I would go and.
See how that goes.
A couple of times a year.
there's a lot, I've seen a lot of, like, we just moved to Clinton last year, and so I've seen a lot in our local paper about, those kinds of things, where they're, cooking groups and whatnot, and
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's it.
Body time.
For those of us who are really tragic, you know, I need more of a like a hands-on kind of thing.
So how many freezers do you have? I mean, I've seen
We have
people
a
like,
big freezer
Giant-
downstairs,
Yeah.
too, yeah.
yeah, they're.
A
they're
giant
like
one for.
6 or 7,
Yeah.
you know,
No, we
with
don't
the
have
shelves,
that
they can everything.
We give a lot of
We
stuff
give a
away
lot.
because we
That
just.
is very.
eat it
Yeah,
all.
we just,
Probably a lot of pantries and.
yeah, and it's also like, I have chickens, we get annoying, so I have to bribe the neighbors all the time. Like, here's some eggs, here's
Yeah.
some veggies, like, just still come after me.
Any like raccoons or bears that like eat your chickens?
So, the chicken one I have is completely like fenced in, and it has. Most animals will just get to the fence and dig under and try to
They try to
get
get
in.
up on there.
But if you take some fence or
And
bury something
go down
just a
there.
couple of feet,
Yeah.
they hit it, they get lazy, they walk away. We
We
have,
a groundhog, but then our dogs.
yeah,
Really tragic.
Your dog did.
the dog did a job. He was so proud of himself.
When it happened, it was very like.
Did you kind of enclose your vegetables? Any of you do that?
So-
We're just starting, so.
My
Screen
father-
Very-
and stuff of that.
Yes.
Yeah, my father's a retired florist,
Yeah,
so
Oh,
he has, a massive vegetable garden. Not so much anymore, because he's 82, he's bringing it down. But yeah, he would always have things in case, yeah.
so.
It was Norman McGregor out there fighting fighting the rabbits.
We don't have that. We have a lot, we're lucky, we have a lot of predators, a lot of hawks and a lot of coyotes and foxes. So you're not gonna see many bunnies or any of that.
Yeah.
But what we have is squirrels,
Mhm.
and I did a really good hack for squirrels, because my main garden is, it's not fully closed in, my berries are. Because
Okay.
birds will not share with you, they'll just eat everything, so my berries are completely fenced in. I have this little electric fence. It's a solar little thing that I just put on, it's just a little bit of a shock, but it's enough
It's
to
a
like,
deterrent.
because they come up the fence and they grab the side, it's on top of the fence, it's just a little wire, they touch it. They go about 20 feet back and they don't come visit anymore.
They
They do, they
They
do,
really
which is,
Those are super smart.
yeah, they're,
acrobatic.
they will jump far, yes.
What kind
Um,
of berries do you find you have the most success with?
Raspberries, blueberries. And strawberries, obviously, but,
Berry bush ones, it just. Didn't,
yeah,
didn't.
It took a few seasons for ours to really get good.
one to
Strawberries take a
establish,
couple-
Yeah, you have to give it, you can't just, I mean, I'm
yeah.
not a gardener, but from what I've
But
seen.
what
you
I've
have
done
to
the
give
first year when you put any fruit tree or any bush is the first year, as soon as it starts flowering, you get rid of all the flowers. You don't let it go to fruit. Right, so the root can, this would actually plant your focus energy on developing roots. Once it develops a good solid system, like my apple trees, I did 3 years of that. I bought them like tiny little ones. And they try to flower, I was like, nope, so all the energy goes down there. And then this year, I finally let them bloom and there's gonna be a lot. So like pears, and we have 3 apple trees, a pear, and
Do you think that's a good, do you have like anything besides pears or apples? Do you have like Umani, you know? does it
I have a cherry.
Cherries would be good, yeah.
Cherries, they just don't get sweet.
Or do you need just?
As long as everybody's together,
Oh.
in this area, so cross pollination
Mhm.
type of thing, so they're all within 20 feet.
Okay.
Each tree is no longer than 20 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
I have a tattoo of one.
Yeah, that's, I'm not, don't listen to me.
And how about the whole
I think
watering
the bush
system for
play.
everything?
So, watering, I have a built-in irrigation system in my beds.
Yeah, I do too, it's
So
like these 2 fingers to see if it needs it.
Yeah, that works too. Yeah, that works too. That's one thing that having 2 little kids, I'm already stretching my time out there away from it, just having that and having a peace of mind that it's gonna be on a
Take care.
timer, it's gonna get watered.
Mhm.
It's a drip line, it's slow, it's for an
Mhm.
hour. and it's-
That's
So
a
the-
good.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So the ultimate question for me with strawberries, you get to leave them on the vine. I buy strawberries at the store and 2 days later they're moldy. How do you store them to keep them longer?
So don't buy so much. Just
Eat them
eat them
immediately.
immediately, because that's where the fresh is. You can, it's probably a couple of
We
days.
literally never had to store any of our strawberries. Because our
Yeah.
kids eat
There
Yeah,
them.
they eat it
Please
right off the
don't, I wouldn't
vine,
know the answer.
How about like with jam, like 'cause I live by myself and so
Yeah,
like
you
I'll
can do
buy them,
that.
so I do strawberries, blueberries, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of lemon juice, and refrigerate them. But then you get a little bit extended life out of them.
Well, the whole thing now on TV is like, put them into a mason jar, don't wash them, don't do anything, put them in the fridge.
Buy
What's
less,
left?
buy less and make some.
And it's
jam.
also like.
I have a
Pack-
really easy jam thing to do in there too. for
So you need
berries.
one of those little,
No, you don't need anything.
They just smash
just
it.
smash them?
Yeah,
Okay.
can.
Yeah, you don't even need to
And
smash
leave
it,
the
you put it
chunks
in the big.
big because.
Yeah.
Then it's never on
Nice,
the
yeah.
toast with this. I agree, I agree.
I got a lot
Yeah.
of work to do. This is, yeah.
Having also chickens, like. It helps because they eat it, they give us eggs, it's this constant cycle. I don't have as much guilt about throwing away things, because I know it's gonna come back to us, to the soil, to all of it. So it's a good chicken.
But I'd love to.
That's not the answer.
The issue with this is a huge.
Look at
And
Tony.
again, it's.
Give them your spouse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, give
You
them.
can give them to your
Yeah,
neighbor whoever has chicken. They'll take it.
There's, they got little refrigerators on the side of the road,
Yeah,
$5, take
yeah.
the eggs everywhere.
Mhm.
I mean, it's crazy, yeah.
But what are some other ideas about food wasting that sort of that?
Composting systems, little ones, that's huge.
How about for the?
There
small
are
big-
companies
Yeah, I know.
who would come and pick up.
Yeah.
So
I had a few resources.
I do that, like I have, yeah. I have a
Yeah.
bunch
Which
of-
one did you get? Which one did you get?
I forget the service I use, but they could come pick up,
Oh,
I have a 5 gallon bucket and I just compost like orange peels, coffee, potato peels, like all that stuff. Like I have like 300 pounds of compost I'm
Oh.
entitled to, but I
Do they,
just never-
yeah, so they give, so I'll come
Like,
to your
the
house,
ones-
I'll
Yeah.
come in to pick up.
Yeah, once, no, well, no, I have to say, okay, send me a 50 pound bag.
Oh,
of
I see.
compost there. But like I live in an apartment right now.
Right.
And so I don't really have
Yeah.
like a space to make you compost.
Just keep
But
saving
it's
it,
great.
one day.
Okay.
There's no like community
No.
garden space?
No, I'm in the process of also, well, not really.
No, I just mean in general, like where we moved from, there were
There's
a
community
lot of,
gardens,
yeah, there was a
but
lot
I'd
of
rather
community
wait
gardens,
till I-
and so you got
Yeah.
your own.
I'd love to hear more about eggplant too, because eggplant on our street, people start abandoning it and running away, like at the end of the season.
Fruit?
No, it's just like there's so much.
Oh.
But like, leave it on your doorstep and they like run away and, you know, so more, I
Yeah.
love your breading it and freezing it idea, but what else do you have about eggplant?
Breading and freezing it, I also do cubes to freeze those to make like, yeah, like ratatouille or caponata. Caponata is one of my favorite.
Caponata is the best
that I make.
dish in
It's
this
just like
book.
everything.
It's
Yeah, And you
everything.
can just use your frozen eggplant for that all year long, and like, give any dinner party, serving caponata on little toast is like, awesome, that's good. What else? I mean, I have a bunch of eggplant recipes, but those are the only ways that I've ever stored them, are like cubed and frozen and breaded and frozen. Or even just slicing frozen,
Okay.
but, you know, you can get the water out of it.
We often make, when we get a lot of them, we make chips in the air fryer. So we slice them really thin and then you make eggplant chips.
They're not chips, they're just like,
Like, they're
basically fried eggplant, yeah.
Yeah.
right.
We love
You
it.
can do those
Use it
like all that stuff
every
like
day.
squash and zucchini.
Every day I almost just.
I'm not a huge fan of eggplant,
Yeah,
but.
it doesn't taste like anything.
You know, I
Well,
wasn't
it's not
either
like- it's like
until
that-
he started
Well,
growing
memory
it.
is-
It's healthy,
thin
bitter.
Yeah.
Colors that I just
Mm.
I don't
So
like.
slice it.
Yeah.
Very thin, right?
Yeah.
Squash and zucchini
Yeah.
all day long.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't grow. I don't grow. They're just very prone to disease.
Oh, really?
A lot. There was a year where I was out there and I'm like, I don't understand. I get this fruit like this. As soon as it's about to ripen, it rots out. Oh, what is happening? So I start digging around and I find this hole. And I wind up cutting a zucchini. I did surgery in the middle of July. It was like 90 degrees. And I cut the vine really long ways and I take a clothespin. No, not a pin, a paper clip. And I start digging in there and I pull out these massive worms that were in there. Started from the vine all the way into the fruit and ate their ways all the way through.
It's just like a natural disease somehow.
That's it. I never spray any of my stuff. Like not everything is so, I'm out there picking things all the time. But I was like, this is so much
Coming out
work.
through the roof.
It was coming through the root and eating through the root to the fruit.
Yes.
I was like, what is happening here? And it takes like a whole year to grow it. So I'm out there with like a razor blade, like doing surgery on like zucchini. So I'm like, I don't have time for this. It's like 2 hours of that in July.
When I grew. when I
Some
was
of the things
growing
I just
zucchinis,
don't.
They came out massive.
Yeah.
And like you would have to like.
You're like bats.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Jewish.
Taco, zucchini taco boats were like
Yes.
all summer long.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
like zucchini either,
I
so I
don't
don't
either.
wanna cook it, so I
Yeah.
think that's another problem.
Yeah,
I have a problem with tomatoes. I end up getting a big boy and it
Mhm.
ends up being a mutant. I don't know what happens. They'll say too much water, not enough water, you know, it just doesn't, it's like my soil isn't growing
I was gonna
tomatoes.
say, go into this, look at the soil
Yeah.
first. Do you have raised beds or is it pots?
No, it's in the ground.
Okay,
It's just
so
a
the
regular-
best thing you can do is test your soil.
Oh,
Send
test
it, test it. There are kits you could send. I send it to UConn.
Yeah, there's.
And they'll do it
And
for free.
they
too.
do it for free. And you'll get exactly what your soil needs, the nutrients. And once you know, then you just add that. And you don't have this whole guessing game. What's going on.
That's great news.
So that's it, you'll know, and then you can be like, oh, I don't have enough nitrogen by then, so
Gotcha.
put some leaves this fall and you'll be set.
So now the tomato plants are starting to flower, which is a good
Mhm.
thing, right? Because then the tomatoes will start to grow with that.
Yeah, that's
Why do
right.
tomatoes get that burst on their outer skin? You know where it's split?
Oh,
Oh, you mean.
On the,
you mean
on the
after-
vine,
No,
Also,
No,
they
it's
sometimes
tomato.
crack open.
Yeah, they crack.
But the skin
you
just
gotta, you
comes
gotta
out.
harvest
Yeah.
it sooner,
Yeah.
you know,
It
as
gets
soon as
too-
you see red on it, you can pick it off.
And then you
It's
can let it
done.
finish.
You let it,
On the
right
like,
there.
I do it because of the squirrels.
You put it like in a
As
brown
soon as it
bag,
goes
something,
red,
or
they'll
just
eat
bring
it,
out.
so
Yeah.
we go still in
Yeah.
the
We have
sun
like a bowl. that's
with
like-
bananas.
Mhm.
If you put them near bananas,
Oh, really?
bananas release this enzyme, what is it called? There's an enzyme that they, that's why they ripen so quickly. If you put anything near bananas, they're gonna ripen really quickly. Avocado, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
But
So you're Italian, so you were told that like the Marzano tomatoes are the only tomatoes used for sauce.
Yes.
Do you use other tomatoes?
Yes, of course.
Like, I have a hard time because like, my grandmother's like sending.
She's on your
daggers,
shoulder.
like,
Oh, you're Italian too? Yeah. Yeah,
Plum
so,
tomatoes, right? Plum tomatoes?
yeah, I mean, honestly, I use
Yeah.
whatever we have and
Yeah.
like I'll mix them together and it's like, it just tastes fresher to me. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to have that exact acidity, like
Yeah.
homemade always tastes better to me.
Yeah, because I make sauce constant. I can't, that's the other thing, I can't buy like junk sauce.
You only use San Marzano.
Yeah, because.
I get it, I get it, I get it.
there's no other way.
No,
You have to shed that.
Not to buy your gas.
You make
Yeah.
a shadow with it too?
she loves.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. But it's part of it too.
Yes. How do you grow garlic? You just,
Fall, you
okay,
take a clove, if you grow, I haven't bought garlic in a very long time, because every clove would be put in terms of the whole plant. So every fall,
yes.
I put it, my garlic is this tall at
Do
this
you have to
point.
put it in, do you put it in pointy side down or? Do you have to put it in the right side?
Yes, so, yes, the pointy side down, no, the other way
Yeah,
around.
the
Sorry, yeah.
Pointy side, the root gonna come out of the flatter part.
Okay.
I do it every fall. October, November.
You
Put it
just
in,
take one little clove and just
Does
pop
it-
it in.
put them all, give it some space.
Okay,
I also put it around the garden on the perimeter.
Oh,
Right.
smart.
You don't wanna put it in the middle, then in June, come June, you have an empty lot. Cause if you put it in the fall, it's gonna be ready by June. And then you're gonna harvest, you're gonna just have an empty spot there. You can always put something in, but I put it around also. Nobody likes garlic. Plants don't like garlic, like they don't like to be near garlic. Predators don't like garlic, so it's good to create this barrier.
Vampires.
Nobody likes garlic. Some vegetables have a hard time growing around it. What's that?
sounds very simple.
Yeah, it is. Split it.
Just involve.
And there are all different varieties of garlic. There are some that are huge, like this big, it's called elephant ear. They're massive. And they're amazing. And you, when you cook it, yes. And when you cook them, you need like quarter as much as you
But
would.
any
from
of
a
your
garlic.
garlic, I feel like I need less to cook with.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right.
Oh,
It's just
very
so,
potent.
so rich.
Fresh garlic.
Right.
Yeah.
And spring.
Mhm.
Can you
garlic
use-
escapes,
Garlic slips are great.
pesto garlic escapes.
Can you use any garlic, like you can't buy, like, you can't use leftover garlic and plant it, right? You buy it in the store, you have to go and get it.
You could, but I would recommend getting, you don't know if it's GMO, you don't know
Oh,
what's happening
that's
in
true.
there, like,
Stand.
yeah, farmer's market, grab some, put it in the soil.
Do you guys know of any other besides the Coventry one doesn't open until June?
Madison.
They'll do that.
Yes.
We live about an hour away.
We're
from
down
open.
south, so
Yeah,
we've
we
been
can
open for a couple.
You have one?
Our farmer's market?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, we don't have one at our house.
Oh, not at our house. Sorry, sorry, our town has.
The town, we're a little bit earlier in the season, they're started, like Westford Farmers Market's been a couple weeks
Last
already.
week.
Okay.
That they've been going.
Ours is open every Friday from 3 to 6. You're welcome to come.
Ethylene, yeah.
I live in Syracuse. for a
Ethylene.
while, and
Ethylene, that's it,
there
that's
is
what's
a-
bananas.
so, it's so neat, let's see.
It will ripen.
Yeah.
So even like at the end of the season, when there isn't enough time for the tomatoes to fully develop and they're green, right? I still put them there next to bananas, and they still like it.
That's crazy. I learned the trick of wrapping the bananas on there.
It's like.
When you put them in,
You guys.
and
Oh,
you
yeah.
wrap on top,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
makes the bananas
Yeah.
last longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
There's a lot of tips and tricks.
All right, so I think we have time for maybe one more question.
Oh.
Maybe something.
One lingering question.
Now that we've monopolized.
I have a
the
question. What is your kid's favorite way to eat zucchini? Do you guys?
No one in our house likes zucchini.
Okay,
We
that's
just,
all I
we
got.
don't talk about that.
But I will say, do shoot, I will say that, my grandmother made a zucchini pie. That
Okay.
your Italian family did it, that it's basically like a niche, or not even a
Okay.
niche, it's like a frittata
Oh, yeah.
with like super finely chopped up zucchini, and she would put it in there with just like salt, pepper, and a little bit of like Parmesan.
Mm.
And I would eat that growing up.
So you hide it.
Yeah, you hide it.
Okay, that's fair.
But our kids do not eat zucchini. But I also,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
zucchini, yeah, muffins.
Delicious muffins,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is.
That
So-
actually
so
is with spinach,
Oh,
yeah.
no, and make taco.
Do you grow any cucumbers or
I
pickles or?
I do all different kinds of, I do pickling cucumbers, I do Diva cucumbers, so I'm massive like this big.
They really are.
yeah,
Like shocking.
And I do just a regular salad cucumber, they're different kind of varieties,
We
like the
pickle a
pickling
lot.
ones are different, they're a little
Yeah.
smaller.
We love
Instagram
Yeah.
information's in here too? Okay.
Yeah.
And one last question, and then it's it, until the next one.
Ah,
You had said that you now like eggplant. You like this eggplant.
I do.
What kind of eggplant? Do you?
So I do the classic,
Just the
just
classic.
the
Well, I
classic,
think I like it because we had so much of it, I was forced to learn how to cook it in different ways. So now I've like figured that out.
Fair enough.
I never would have ordered it.
Same boat. I don't like eggplant and I'm trying to like it or do something.
Try
with
it, try the
there's,
carbonara.
yeah, the
Okay,
caponata in there,
Everybody
it's
likes it,
amazing.
including our son. So
Okay.
try that one.
All right. Yeah, the tea. Okay. All right, well, thank you everyone for being here.
Yeah.